The Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, was one of the 10 global health leaders invited by the World Health Organization to visit China and understudy their response approach. I am personally very proud of Dr. Iyekweazu for doing this on behalf of all Nigerians. Since his return, the NCDC has been implementing numerous strategies and programs in Nigeria to ensure that the adverse impact of this virus in our country is minimized. We ask all Nigerians to support the work of the Federal Ministry of Health and the NCDC, led by the Presidential Task Force. Although we have adopted strategies used globally, our implementation programs have been tailored to reflect our local realities. In Nigeria, we're taking a two-step approach. First, to protect the lives of our fellow Nigerians and residents, workers and business owners, to ensure their families get through this very difficult time in dignity and with hope and peace of mind. To date, we have introduced health measures, border security, physical and monetary policies in our response. We shall continue to do so as the situation unfolds. Some of these measures will surely cause major inconveniences to many citizens, but these are sacrifices we should all be willing and ready to make for the greater good of our country. In Nigeria's fight against COVID-19, there is no such thing as an overreaction or an underreaction. It is all about right reaction by the right agencies and trained experts. Accordingly, as a government, will continue to rely on guidance of our medical professionals and experts at the Ministry of Health, NCDC, and other relevant agencies through this difficult time. I therefore urge all citizens to adhere to their guidelines as they are released from time to time. We are aware Lagos and Abuja have majority of confirmed cases in Nigeria. Our focus therefore remains to urgently and drastically contain these cases and to support other states and regions in the best way we can. This is why we propose an initial intervention of 15 billion naira to support the national responses we fight to contain and control the spread. We also created a presidential task force to develop workable national response strategy that is being reviewed on a daily basis as the requirements change. This strategy takes international best practices but adopts them to suit our unique local circumstances. Our goal is to ensure all states have the right support and manpower to respond immediately. So far in Lagos and Abuja, we have recruited hundreds of ad hoc staff to man our call centers and support our tracing and testing efforts. I also requested through the Nigerian Governors Forum for all state governors to nominate doctors and nurses who will be trained by the NCDC and Lagos State Government to tackle operational response to the virus case as it spreads to other states. This training will also include medical representatives from our armed forces, paramilitary, security and intelligence agencies. As a nation, our response must be guided, systematic and professional. There is a need for consistency across the nation. All inconsistencies policy guidelines between federal and state agencies will be eliminated. As I mentioned earlier, as at this morning, we had 97 confirmed cases. Majority of these are in Lagos and Abuja. All the confirmed cases are getting the necessary medical care. Our agencies are currently working hard to identify cases and people these patients have been in contact with. The few confirmed cases outside Lagos and Abuja are linked to persons who traveled from these centers. We are therefore working to ensure such interstate and intercity movements are restricted to prevent further spread. Based on the advice of the Federal Ministry of Health and NCDC, I'm directing the cessation of all movements in Lagos and FCT for an initial period of 14 days with effect from 11 p.m. on Monday, 30th March. This restriction will apply to Ogun State due to its close proximity to Lagos and the high traffic between the two states. All citizens in these areas are to stay in their homes. Travel to or from other states should be postponed. All businesses and offices within these locations should be fully closed during this period. The governors of Lagos and Ogun State, as well as the minister of the FCT, have been notified. Furthermore, heads of security and intelligence agencies have also been briefed. We'll use this containment period to identify, trace, and isolate all individuals in contact with confirmed cases. We'll ensure the treatment of confirmed cases while restricting further spread to other states. This order does not apply to hospitals and all related medical establishments, as well as organizations related manufacturing and distribution. Furthermore, commercial establishments such as processing, distribution and retail companies, petroleum distribution and retail entities, power generation, transmission and distribution companies, and private security companies are also exempted. Although these establishments are exempted, access will be restricted and monitored. Workers in telecommunication companies, broadcasters, print and electronic media staff who can prove that they are unable to work from home are also exempted. At all seaports in Lagos remain operational in accordance with guidelines are issued earlier. Vehicles and drivers conveying essential cargoes will be screened thoroughly before departure by the Ports Health Authority. And other essential humanitarian items into these locations from other parts of the country will be screened thoroughly before they are allowed to enter these restricted areas. Accordingly, the Honorable Minister of Health is hereby directed to redeploy all Port Health Authority employees previously stationed in Lagos and Abuja airports to key roads that serve as entry and exit points to these restricted zones. Movement of all passenger aircrafts, both commercial and private, special issued on needs basis. We're fully aware that these measures will cause much hardship and inconvenience to many citizens, but this is a matter of life and death. If we look at the dreadful daily toll of deaths in Italy, France, and Spain. However, we must all see this as our national and patriotic duty to control and contain the spread of this virus. I will therefore ask all of us affected to put aside our personal comfort to safeguard ourselves and fellow human beings. This common enemy can only be controlled if we all come together and obey scientific and medical advice. As we remain ready to enforce these measures, we should see this as our individual contribution in the war against COVID-19. Many other countries have taken far stricter measures in a bid to control the spread of the virus with positive results. For residents of satellite and commuter towns and communities around Lagos and Abuja whose these restrictive measures, we will deploy relief materials to ease their pain. Furthermore, these schools have closed. All the schools have closed. I have instructed the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development to work with state governments in developing a strategy on how the school feeding program during this period without compromising our social distancing policies. The minister will be contacting the affected states and agree on detailed steps. Furthermore, I have directed that a 3-month repayment moratorium for all trader money, market money, and farmer money loans be implemented with immediate effect. I've also directed that a similar moratorium be given to all federal government-funded loans issued by the Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, and Nigerian Export-Import Bank. For on-lending facilities using capital from international and multilateral development partners, I've directed our development financial institutions to engage these development partners and negotiate concessions to ease the pains of the borrowers. For most vulnerable in our society, I've directed that the conditional cash transfers for the next 2 months be paid immediately. Our internally displaced persons will be receiving 2 months of food rations in the coming weeks. We also call on all Nigerians to take personal responsibility to support those who are vulnerable within their communities, helping them with whatever they may need. As we all pray for the best possible outcome, we shall continue planning for all eventualities. This is why I directed that all federal government stadiums, pilgrims camps, and other facilities be converted to isolation centers and makeshift hospitals. My fellow Nigerians, as the government, we will avail all necessary resources to support the response and recovery. We remain committed to do whatever it takes to confront COVID-19 in our country. We're very grateful to see the emergent support of the private sector and individuals to the response, as well as our development partners. At this point, I will ask that all contributions and donations be coordinated and centralized to ensure efficient and impactful spending. Presidential Task Force remains the central coordinating body on the COVID-19 response. I want to assure you all that government, ministries, departments, and agencies with a role to play in the outbreak response are working hard to bring this virus under control. And he pretty much wrapped up his speech. All right, so this is it. This is what Nigerians have been calling to hear, I guess, asking the president to say something as concerning the pandemic and seeing how it was sweeping across the world and beginning to affect Nigerians. The first case came in Nigeria 27th of February, and he finally spoke 28th of March, about a month after the first case was recorded here in Nigeria. And this is the package he has. A lot of people have condemned the package. Others have approved of it. Some have said he's doing well compared to what other nations are doing. And if you look at Africa as a whole, people have commended this put in place. Of course, everybody's still watching the sidelines and hoping that. But the PDP, on the other hand, has said this speech was empty. Emmanuel.
Well, let me start with the PDP. Well, I do not. If the APC establishment dies, I do not expect the PDP to go and lay wreaths on its tomb. No, I don't. So I expect to hear exactly what they say. It must be, for them, is bland completely.
Yeah.
Yes. But for Emmanuel Ndukwe, who is not a PDP, neither am I an IPC member, I think this. And the promises, what is worrying me as a citizen of Nigeria is that be eventually. Of these promises. You don't have data and all that. You tell people lockdown. Nothing. Absolutely, like we were talking about the market. There are those who must go to the market every day to be able to eat. And with this closure of markets and all that, what is going on? Nothing. They're already there, perhaps suffering this time not COVID, but hunger. And then perhaps those who fall in the category of COVID are suffering COVID. But remember that the person that closed the market and the people market are closed for, all are struggling to make sure that human life is preserved. But we are saying, what are the palliatives? Which practical ways can it reach those it should reach? And who is it that it should not reach? Perhaps you are known to be a well-rich and exclude you. But what about others? Those are the only area. But because he made mention of certain palliatives. Like I said, palliatives. Let them smoothly. If it was mentioning about and that, I tell you, it's a difficult thing for Africa. But Nigeria, if managers of our economy were doing well, it would be a difficult thing for us. But now that we have the reality staring us in the face, he has made promises. Let us wait for him to deliver as he has promised. But one thing that maybe of these I expected to have gone lower is the fuel price. I tell you. That's 125.
Your thoughts there, Manuel? What did you mean?
Yeah, Annie, I think, like I said, we must not give credence to most of these manifestos. Why PDP is saying is empty. I think events have shown that most of these promises don't even get to, people. I have sat down to look at this speech. I have been growing for. I was born here as a citizen. I have been equally. Everything virtually. This is the time that people should say this is what we have benefited from. Yes, they have read like this. We have had a lot of promises. We have had this same government telling us that they will feed Nigerians with 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. Why people are afraid is that how does it get to? How can we deploy these things to IDP camps? Who are the people that are going to deploy them? So many spirited Nigeria, where spirited Nigeria has donated millions of naira. And I can tell you on a good authority, one would have thought that Mr. President would have said, please, those with BVN, because there are marketers, you will get 2,000 naira, if nothing, because I know the country can provide 50,000 per person. Say, please, hence you have a bank account that we are going to give you this, not loan. We are going to give money like this. And I'm sure other international donors have been sending monies across. What are they using it for? So these are where the question should. That is why Nigerians are saying that, look, PDP is saying that this speech is right. There was a lot of expectations yesterday. And remember, who are the distributors of this money? They are party faithfuls. Who are the nominees? Who the persons that Mr. President has nominated? The same persons for distribution of. At a point, he said,
well, there are agencies that
are going to rely on those people that are in charge of COVID-19. Who are those people?
There's a presidential committee on that, and the presidential committee is being chaired by Boss Mustafa. And mostly you have people from the Ministry of Health, you have people from NCDC, who are all members of that, and a few other people who are in government position.
This is where I want to respond.
Yeah,
I will equally tell you why this thing won't get to anywhere. but I pray it gets to somewhere. Now, if you're telling people to go today, and that alone is like HIV, some people can't go inside, no food, inside no kerosene, go inside, you can't even access the ATM. I can tell you now, some places in Lagos State.
So what happens? They go outside and sit outside? Is that what they do?
No,
if there's no lights, there's no kerosene.
They distributed, they had to contract
but
doctors.
They also said so.
They contracted doctors without border.
They said
if you're going to the market, they will check you.
They said what they're
if
doing
you're coming
here,
out of the market, they will check you.
What they have said is that for this lockdown in these 3 states, they will send palliatives. That means there will be food distribution to some most vulnerable.
Who is the vulnerable? Who qualifies? Somebody.
Hold on. I agree with you, but I think that if they say they've placed that in they put something that they will perhaps make known to the rest of us. But at least for the president, this is something that
I want, from what we have seen in the past, and from what Nigerians know that will happen, is that it won't get to the vulnerable. And at this point, we don't need description in terms of dishing out this palliative. At this point in time, even the rich and the poor are being visited by particular plague. I would have suggested that government, when once you are inside your house, food at a point in time, food will come. In the morning, we will distribute. In the evening, West Nigeria should equally donate. And at this point, I want to tell you, everybody, some persons, you can't even say that the rich is ready to even give out. The whole place is tight. When you shut down, it means the land and sea. The only persons that can go out, like he said, are those that are, the rest. But it must certify that indeed you are within the industry. So I would have thought that government that is ready to govern would have looked at these demerits. How do we look at these people? Do you know that there are some rural areas in Lagos State not accessible? And I'm sure government cannot even reach out to those people. The census taken, just as Chief said, we don't even have the index of the population in Ogun. We don't even have the index of the population in Abuja. And this is where the inadequacies now comes in. How do we reconcile these irregularities? And who are the middlemen? The problem we've had in Nigeria are the intermediaries. These things may have been given to them. We've heard about the fertilizer distribution, how it was diverted. How do we checkmate and balance the system? And I'm sure that if you say that from 11 today, I'm sure markets have already started closing down. It's like what is going on now in Port Harcourt. There is rush hour. Basically in the morning, the tax force are clamping down on people. And as on a good authority, people will not withstand it. Not even the COVID will keep. So I think we must, in as much as we are trying to help our citizens, we must equally look at how we will prevent all these things. Government must look to distribute, because saying that you are going to look at your committee to carry out these activities, and you need to employ a lot of NGOs that will carry out these activities. If many people will die, and I'm sure they will link it to COVID-19. Please, it's a clarion call. Let's go back again. That's why I said it's a very good one. They have read it out. We have seen it so many times. We see them making speeches like this, well refined. But I want to tell you that it's empty. It is empty because if you go to social media now, people are crying. There are areas you can't access. So how do you reach out to those people? Those at Mushi, those at, what do they call it? Several areas in Lagos, how do you reach out to them? Apart from this COVID-19, there are people with several ailments, malaria and advanced level of malaria. How do you reach out to those people? So we must begin to look at those that will distribute this food chain, because we know that they are ready to sell it out to the nearby country.
Like I said, so it's okay to understand that there are people that may jeopardize the process.
Yes.
But as to the measures he's reeled out and what he says to do and what is being done at the moment, this is what I think we should review.
Yeah.
Because we can't tell what people will do with that, let them handle. But this is what the president is saying. And your position, and especially for the fact that a lot of people have been calling for him to speak as it concerns COVID-19. Do you find assurance from what he said? Do you feel some comfort? Do you think there's light?
And there is no light in the tunnel. If I'm not looking at most of the political prophecies that have gone, wrong and rightly in this country, we have seen in the time
reason
past,
why you feel
we
so is
joined
because you
them.
don't know what will happen after.
IDP camp. As I speak to you, there are in there. People are being raped on daily basis. It means there are no security there. And he's even referring to IDP camps that they will send food, that they are going to feed secondary school pupils. And as I speak to you, schools are not even on, they have closed. So I wonder those they want to. So I think these whole things are hypotheses. We must come in reality with terms. We must copy from other countries. What is going on today in UK? The effect is not even, what they are feeling is just the COVID-19. In terms of feeding, people are well fed. Nigerians are there. So I call, they say they are even thinking about us. So it means that we are already the victims. So what we should be looking at is, one, who is the man in the rural area? How do we reach that man? And where I'm looking at most of those inadequacies in that speech is that, one, there was no room for saying we want to pay the citizens. Because as I speak to you, so many people, so many civil servants have not been paid.
All right.
The issue would have been addressed.
Okay.
He would have ordered the government to pay. Up front, three months up front.
All
We
right.
have the money.
All right.
So I wonder, and I'm sure he's moving from one country to another. He has eaten before he gave that speech.
He's
so
not
let
he's
us
not
begin
moving from
to
country
look
to
at how to
country.
empathize with Nigerians.
He's not moving from country to country. Let me just quickly state that. Anyway, let's get to Chief Lovedale Carey.
Honey. Hey. Nigeria. You see, I want to describe the president's speech as an empty one. It is not empty because several things have been said that ordinarily would have made Nigerians to be hopeful. But my worry is that no matter whatever that has been said from that script that was written to him to read, I don't need it. When I was talking here before during the newspaper review, I said every good leader must possess these three things must be found in him. You look at their age of academy. Over time, day is lacking on being proactive in certain needs of Nigerians. For instance, in United States, almost on daily basis, one reading of scripts. Today, message of hope. The President Trump travels from one part of America to the other, confronting the scourge doctors that are playing their own role. There are health ministers that are playing their own, but the president is the one receiving all the messages from all quarters. So, our president have not even gone to Lagos. I think I want to give kudos to the Lagos State Governor, who has been getting first-hand information of what is happening in Lagos, and that is why he has been able to confront the situation the way it is now by providing. You see where some warehouses are loaded with food stocks that will be given out to people. Some of the assembly members are providing food to their constituents in Lagos State. So in Nigeria, our president is so. In fact, I want to thank God for one thing, Annie. I'm thanking God that it is not that I know that God actually loves Nigeria. I'm thanking God that this disease did not emanate from the local. If this disease had emanated from the grassroots, from the local people, people would have, in fact, by now would have been thinking of where to even people that are selling coffin. There would have been no coffin casket markets in Nigeria again today. That's for those that uses casket for burial. So if the likes of Abba Kyari did not test positive, the likes of the governors, something different would have happened in this country. So I'm still surprised that up till now, that I read online that several Nigerians have made donations in billions.
Where is the money?
He just said that the money should be coordinated by.
Thank you. I'm coming. So
Through this thing now.
apart from I think Abubakar gave 50 million naira. that announced that he will give 50 million.
Yeah.
Let me not say that I've given.
has
He
given.
announced. Okay.
It has been given.
To who? Who did he give it to?
It has been given.
To who? Who
And let me,
received
you
it?
know, I have 2 phones here.
Please,
They are
go
working.
ahead.
So
I
we have the last of is this Sulman Rabiu 1 billion naira, Femi Otedola 1 billion naira, Tony Elumelu 1 billion naira. How about
They're all pledges. I hope you understand.
I'm coming. Andy.
No, I'm just saying.
I hope you're not joking
saying,
with us.
No, you
I
said
hope you're not joking with us.
there's something between donation and something with pledge.
Okay.
They're two different things.
Okay. I'm pledged.
Good.
Let me use the language that you.
Yes,
That
thank
true
you.
now.
So now let us assuming, but without considering that they have given this money, assuming that this money are proposed for Nigerians within this period. Now, yesterday the president read a speech, was prepared for him to Nigerians. Now, did not consider to go a long way in making also a proposal on how to carry other Nigerians along to cushion the effect of COVID-19.
He didn't?
But excuse me.
No, I'm I'm just asking you. You said he didn't carry other
He didn't carry other Nigerians along. You remember that there are 2 basic things that the government will do for us: security and welfare. These are basic things. Yes. Now, it's obvious they have failed on the part of security. We're not talking about security. We're talking about welfare now.
But he carried
Welfare
other
now.
Nigerians along.
Well,
He
he's supposed
did.
to carry all of
I'm
them.
coming. This is my own opinion.
I know now, but you say he did not carry other Nigerians along. But I read here other Nigerians that were carried along.
I'm saying that he didn't now. I mean,
How?
when I finish, we don't know whether I am from a community. I am from a community. And since this particular scourge is ravaging the world, I've never seen any federal institution that have come near my community with any form of message. I know we used to have this National Orientation Agency.
Yes.
None of them have come near to pass a message to say this is what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Now we are hearing about all this money pledged. The federal government ordinarily.
Your local government has not done anything.
We are talking about federal government
No,
here.
hold on now, because if you're saying federal government here, and
Because-
you're expecting that your community, somebody must come from the federal ministry
Because
to your community.
allow me before you make me deviate from the angle I'm coming from. We are talking about the president's speech. We're not talking about local government
But
chairman's speech.
but you federal ask to come
Normally ask us to seek. The PDP said it's empty. I have been so magnanimous enough to say that it's not empty. At the end of the day, whatever that is there.
He says
Whatever that is said there can never materialize because that is a speech of Abuja and not a speech that we
Trickle down to this
that
side.
trickle down to the community. Speak with you. I am praying to God every day that God, please do not allow this thing to trickle down to come down to community because people will finish. Because there are no precautionary measures. There are some communities today that do not even know what is a coronavirus. The federal government do not even know those communities. In the first place, where is the road that you even drive to the communities? They do not even have access to light as to even watch television. What I'm trying to say is that this money that they are whether promised money or whatever, because an NMPC has donated 11 billion or whatever, and the federal government said they are giving Lagos.
It's under pledge.
At least they have been able to have access to our accounts through the BVN.
Yes.
The worst thing that would have happened is that if you do not have an account with BVN, it is your problem. Yeah. It's your own problem. But for now, even if it is just ordinary 10,000 naira will change a lot of things on Nigerians today.
I hope you did. I hope you also noticed that in his speech he says they'll continually make adjustments as they check the situation.
See, it took Mr. President 1 month after the first victim, the Italian, to read the scripts that was prepared to him. It took him 1 month.
Your expectation is that at the moment where we are now, money should be given to all Nigerians.
Exactly, because look, let me tell you, for 1 week, since Monday last week, I've been in fact my back is paining me. I've been lying.
You should walk around. You should learn to walk around.
is a suspect.
Yeah, you're at home. They
Everyone
just say,
is a-
if
so-
they say
so-
stay at home, it doesn't
so-
say you shouldn't
so-
exercise.
I exercise inside my room.
Then good, so your back shouldn't hurt you.
And there's exception.
So-
No, they
so-
still exercise. Exercise.
So
You
the
remain
truth,
inside.
the truth
They didn't say we
remains.
should exercise. You can go and attract it.
Yes.
So they say remain
Body
inside.
shimmy, I will not allow. I will not allow.
So,
I will not allow.
let me conclude.
I
so
will not
that-
allow you say something.
No, they say we should remain
Oh,
inside.
no.
If they exercise, they would
And let me
have.
conclude so that
They would have
dog
been-
Please, yes, go ahead.
See,
Chief Lord.
what I'm trying to say is that Mr. President, our president, should take control of Nigeria. The information of what is happening in the country. He should move around to the country. He is not the president of Abuja. He is the
Chief-
president of Nigeria, not Abuja.
Chief
He should
Lord.
move around the country and know what is happening. For
All right.
goodness sake.
Okay, thank you. We got your thoughts on that. Let's move on now to Prof. Prof, let's hear your thoughts, please.
Well, let me speak as a teacher of public speaking. This speech, perhaps, is one of the clearest speeches that the president of this country has presented.
I think so too.
In clarity, you cannot fault this speech. In clarity of what he wants to deliver, you can't fault. The use of statistics, I mean, to paint a picture that clearly shows where we are, you can't fault it. On emphasis, I mean, the emphasis of the speech, you see that you see a form of repetition of the points that he actually wants Nigerians to take home, clearly marked out in the speech. However, the speech is lacking in authentication. And by that, I mean from even what Annie said, that Nigerians are now beginning to complain that now they're looking at the backdrop and they're looking at a number of things. That's lack of authentication. We're actually in a state of war. When you are in a state of war, you expect your commander-in-chief to lead from the front line.
Exactly.
The front line is not State House. With respect to a war situation, it's not. The front line is actually those first responders, those medical personnel, the hospitals, the challenges that they go through. You must also be part of that. You must lead, not just soldiers. You must lead those, because as far as we're concerned now, the warriors in this war are medical personnel.
Exactly.
So you've got to lead from the front line. So it lacks in authentication, also lacks in persuasion. What does it want us to do? What does this intend that Nigerians should do? If what you intend them to do, are they responding in that way? For example, when you do an advertisement, you need to get to a point of conviction. Then you get to from awareness to conviction to a point of action. He has created awareness, but is lacking in conviction, and there is no direction on action that you expect the people to take. And that's why you are getting this bounce back. That's why you're getting this feedback that people are contesting. People are throwing it back and saying, no, this is not what we expect from him, and this is not what we're going to. And there's one key point that he made, which I also think was not well delivered. The issue about the vulnerable people in society. When you talk about the vulnerable in society, and the question is going to be, who are these vulnerable people? How many are they? Now, if you look at the point where he mentioned, made reference to them, he talked about money, trader money, and promise. There are another money. One.
Trader money, farmer money.
Farmer money,
yeah.
absolutely. He talked about it, and you recall that last week Wednesday when we were in this studio, I said that because of the configuration of Nigeria and the mentality of our politics, those who benefit from these programs have to be members of those political parties. It is a means of registering political membership of political parties. So whether it's farmer money or market money or whatever money it is, they use this to recruit members of the ruling political party. PDP did it. APC is doing it.
Yeah.
So when you look at the issue now and you look at those as the vulnerable people, you miss the mark. Completely miss the mark. What you're simply saying is that you have the same political position. Those who are supporters of the Mr. President are the ones who are going to get this. And of course, we know the mentality of this president. with respect to 5% and 95% or 97%, as the case may be, when you talk about being inclusive. They've not shown that they are inclusive in this. And I'm also a vulnerable person, and I must not forget to tell you that with respect to what we're going through now, I'm vulnerable because I've not been paid salary.
That's what I said, the most.
No, I'm coming.
Hold on.
I'm most.
I know. No, you cannot be most vulnerable.
Oh, Annie, I live.
I'm not denying that.
If the president considers me to be vulnerable, that I'm making. Have any way of determining who these vulnerable are? That's the point I'm making.
Okay. Yes.
You can't determine who the vulnerable person is.
That's true.
And it's faulty. Now, if you were to give palliatives to the people, how are you going to do it?
Well, I think what they did say was that for those, he mentioned the group of people, the stats of the people who will be receiving any sort of concession this period. Those on the loans, the trader money farmer loans, they're getting concession. Hold on. And he mentioned those in the IDP camps he says that they will be getting 2 months ration of food in the next couple of weeks. He mentioned those who are already on the most vulnerable, who are supposed to be getting, I think, 5,000 naira every month. Yeah. He said they'll be getting the money for 2 months immediately. And he mentioned those in the communities that are experiencing this complete lockdown. And he says that food supplements will be sent to those communities to help alleviate the hardship they'll be going through at this time. So he made it pretty clear.
No.
He made it pretty clear
No.
the people he was He made it pretty clear the people he was targeting with the palliatives he set in place now. Whether there's another large group of people that are not captured, that is debatable. But that this is what he intends to do now. I think he did make that pretty clear.
Well, I don't think there's anything different from that you have shown me from what I was saying. He mentioned, but we're looking at determining them. You mentioned you're going to give this, you're going to give this, going to do, and I mean that's quite flowery.
Why don't we know who is in the IDP camp?
No.
Don't we know those who have been experiencing, who have been taking the 5,000 naira before?
Exactly.
We
the
know
people
those
who have been taking 5,000 naira are party members. The people in the ID camps, the people in the ID camps.
No, I agree with you because I will agree with you that who are the people who are taking 5,000? Because there's a time when we discussed this here, Emmanuel, where someone said they came one time to their community, said they should bring their names, and I asked what was the criteria? Are you just supposed to walk up to them and say I'm the vulnerable in my community? How did they go about it? But they said when they gave their names, they never returned. But well, we're paying now, are we? Aren't we? I agree with you that who are those people who are captured as most vulnerable, who are receiving 5,000 naira every month. But the point I'm trying to make is that those people are already captured. It's not as if they're new people they're putting into
I
that
appreciate
system.
the fact.
All right, then.
There's no, I think it would be okay if you maybe allow these rioting thoughts to get to a point of putting it together. That you have those people, if they are party members, then the rest of us who are not party members, not just because you think I'm not vulnerable because I used to have a job.
No, but I think
But I said so.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, I said so. I said PDP did it, and APC is doing it. It doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't.
Fine. So the point has to be made that when you look at a critical moment like this, you're looking at Nigerians, you're not looking at partisanship. And I'm saying that once you use those avenues which are partisan, you exclude a number of persons who should qualify, even if Annie thinks I shouldn't qualify. There's no problem about that. But
You should qualify.
no, but there are other persons who should that you all completely through your partisan exclude them. Now, if that happens, how do you deal with those persons? And you look at it from the economic perspective. Some organizations have asked some of their workers to take leave. Those leave are not paid for. Some of them have even downsized. Some of them are asking they are going to pay 50%. And he said something that I was going to look at it from the personal perspective and from the economic perspective. That speech lacked completely on that economic perspective. There is no humanity. He hasn't humanized the speech he presented with respect to what's going to happen to the employers of labor. Many of them are going to lay people off. You haven't done anything to that. The palliative you're talking about for individuals is strictly partisan. There is no economic activity to take along the employers of labor, and many persons, of course, who are working. Let's not even go and look at the vulnerable. I don't know how many federal government staff that have received salary for the month of March. And I mean, we had already come to the end of March before this lockdown in Lagos is happening. And I think that lockdown in Lagos is coming a little too late. Because if you look at the advisory, last week again, as we're talking about here, I told you that my fear was in the next 14 days. Unfortunately, because of the attitude of government in this country, we cannot determine the timeline now. It is the COVID-19 that determines the timeline. Right. So to the extent that we still have 111, given the wide contract, the contact that may have taken place in this country, it still means that we still have to give another 14 days from now. Otherwise, we will have gone down 7 days down the line, and we will have been saying, wow, in the next 6 days, if we still have it within 500, then we can begin to say we have dealt with it. Unfortunately, because of this same attitude of government delaying in every situation, in every condition, we've got to extend it again for another 14 days. And it's going to move between that 14 days where we move further. So the actions of this government is completely inadequate to deal with this matter. But as a president, if the president was leading from the front line and we didn't bother about the backdrop or whether people know the shape of government house and all that, remove away all those distractions. Let's talk to the people. In fact, as a matter of fact, I was reading online today. A lot of people were talking about that speech having been recorded prior. That NTA had made reference to that portions of that speech even before the 7 o'clock when the speech was presented. I know.
Yes, there's always the speech writers.
I know.
Yes.
I know that usually these speeches, even when they are to be broadcast live, for the convenience of breaking news and all that, major news organizations can't have that. Yeah. But many Nigerians who are not in this line of profession may not understand that happens. But the point remains that if the president had shown himself at authenticate what done, and people, you show that you are leading. What we have seen, a president who has to read a speech and goes back to his comfort zone.
I can't fault you in that part when you talk about the president who needs to show he was leading, because I remember when we spoke about the presidential committee on this, I mentioned why it had to be Boss Mustafa. I mean, why? And like I said, I think in a time of chaos, really, everybody looks to a leader. And it is important that at that point, he stands up to what he is. He is the leader. We mentioned the fact that if Boss Mustafa was leading that, it's just the level of authority he gets over that. There might be issues you say, relate this to the president and see if indeed we can shut this down. I have to relate this to that. But if it was the president, he could actually take that decision at that time. And I think this is also part of the reasons why we saw a slow reaction to certain things. For me, most of his speech, I don't think I expected too much. I mean, I expected pretty much what he said, that he's going to give these concessions. I know that if there's going to be any stimulus package for the economy, it will have to be something that'll come several meetings between and economic team he has and the legislators. Something the president himself will handedly say this as a stimulus package. I think here that what he should have done right from the beginning, though, which I think is too late now, is the complete shutdown he's ordering in Lagos and in Abuja. I think this is what he'll have done long ago to be able to contain the spread. For me, the virus is already out. Maybe, yes, within Lagos, we're trying to contain the spread within Lagosians and perhaps within Abuja. But the rest of us have been exposed to it when we could have taken better steps earlier. We'll pause on this conversation here. We'll come back. We'll continue. It's 3 minutes after 10. The news update is next.
It's Today 95.1 FM. Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24 news team to bring you the latest. Today 95.1 FM.
Today 95.1 FM. Port Harcourt. News.
Hello and good morning. Here's the news update on Today 95.1 FM. I am Annie Abdul Salam. The Minister of Health said there are plans to establish a testing center for coronavirus in Port Harcourt. The minister said this while reeling out the places where the federal government has created and plans to create more testings and check the spread of coronavirus. Addressing newsmen after he led the task force on enforcement of the ban on public and religious gatherings to monitor the Federal Capital Territory. On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump has said federal coronavirus guidelines such as social distancing will be extended across the U.S. until the 30th of April. Trump had previously suggested that they will be relaxed as early as Easter.
The heat is on. Naija Noodles Ultimate Search is here. Are you ready to be the next superstar talisman for the first Ultimate Search winner? Are you ready to play? To participate, log on to www.noodlescookingquest.com
or pay into GT account number 0130765340. Account name Media Corp. Present your bank teller to pick up your forms at Today FM, Today's Drive off East West Road before UPTH, Port Harcourt, River. 8038943712
or 0818-389-2850.
Registration form is 2,500 naira only.
And stand a chance to win fantastic prizes. Winner goes home with 1 million naira plus a year ambassador for a brand worth 25 million naira. The prize goes home with 500,000 naira. Third prize 300,000 naira. Wow! Date is June to August 2020. Auditions will hold at Uyo, Calabar,
Port Harcourt,
Lagos, Edo, Delta, Anambra, Abuja, Kaduna, Katsina, Oyo, and Benue. It's time to cook. Let's eat, play, and win.
Proudly sponsored by Indomie Noodles, official media partner.
Today FM 95.1, Port Harcourt.
This good. Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
I am a proud Nigerian. I have been placed here by God for a time such as this.
The degradation, challenges, and problems faced by Nigeria are the perfect backdrop for me to develop and utilize my God-given potential.
I will not complain. I will not criticize. Rather, I will use my skills, gifts, relationships,
and experience to find long-lasting and revolutionary solutions to the many challenges confronting Nigeria.
Nigeria will rise again.
Because I am here, I will leave this nation
a better place than I met it. I will work to make Nigeria a praise on the earth.
I will work to make Nigeria praise on the earth. So help me God.
Let me tell you how I got this far.
This message is brought to you by Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. With the dawn of the global pandemic, coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, we have been advised to self-isolate and observe social distancing rules. We at Today 95.1 FM want to tell you that while you self-isolate, it is important that you take this time out to get a skill, improve on your old and existing skills, read a book, listen to educational tapes, work out if you need to, bond with your family. Don't just spread fear and panic, self-isolate and grow. Make this time count for you. This message is brought to you by Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Wake up to today's quest.
Wake up.
All the news and information you need in one go. Get started with the best of sports, lifestyle, analysis, and Annie.
Can you feel
Can you feel it? Quest with Annie on Today 95.1 FM from 6 to 11 a.m. weekdays. Fantastic.
Opinion poll on today's quest.
More than 3 over 4 of the loots we are talking about in this country today were loots within the 16 years.
Here is a great opportunity to sample all our opinions on the issues raised.
Yamin Potaka says the PDP is trying to divert our attention because Nigerian funds was looted by the PDP. Melody in Uniport says Madam Jonah is yet to come in terms of the fact that her tenure has expired. Annie, please tell him that investigation is not what you make public until the final stage.
Send your opinion to us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Today95.1 FM, or on Twitter @TodayFM951. You can also sample your opinions with us on WhatsApp or on our SMS portal using the numbers 070-1933-9962. Listening to Today 95.1 FM. We've just gone through the president's speech, back and forth, and each expressed what we thought about it. In any which ways, it is the president's speech. He is the one in, like I say, at the top of the helms of affairs. So he's championing this cause. We just pray, as much as we criticize or approve, we pray that whatever solutions or actions that they prefer will indeed help checkmate the spread of the virus. I mean, I don't think there's any Nigerian out there who wants to criticize and get infected. I think that even if they're criticizing, it's because we all want to have public health in ACEs. In any which ways, I know that there are some people out there who just want to criticize because, well, it's APC and it's Buhari. Those people, we know them. Those people we know. But, funny enough, this conversation for the next opinion poll comes from something that happened yesterday.